All right, well, happy Tuesday to you all. It's about 1 in the afternoon, and I have a delivery that landed at my warehouse that needs to be redelivered to a customer, or at least taken off of the porch of my warehouse, because I don't want to risk that walking away. I'm not there, and the warehouse is a pretty safe area, but it's open, and I don't want my goods to disappear. That would be bad. So the 500X is back in play. I need to adjust my clutch because it's coming up right off of the grip. I'll get there. So I rode it over to the fuel station just a few minutes ago, but that's as far as it has been ridden since it was reassembled. So I'm going to take it out on the highway here for a commute into my warehouse and then on toward the client site, which is downtown area, I guess. Figure it out, guys. What you waiting on? Figure it out. Yeah. You're doing good. Yeah, it's that right side. Yeah, you can get there. The crunchy driveline sensation that I had heard seems to have gone away. So I didn't attack that problem very scientifically. I hit it with a sledgehammer, and all facets of whatever it could have been, all variables were eliminated at once. So I think it was a combination of a loose or chattery countershaft sprocket, the front sprocket. It was chattering just a bit on the output shaft, a little bit loose, had some play in it, and the cush drive in the rear hub was also a little bit worn, not really disintegrating or whatever, but it's a little worn after 10 years. So I replaced all that, and I don't hear the crunchy anymore, so I'm going to call it fixed. We'll see. It's a different looking truck. Anybody recognize that emblem on the front of that mail truck? It's like an eagle or something. I don't know what that was. I don't know what brand they're using now. Almost looks like a Dodge Sprinter Mini or something. I don't know what that is. Can't tell. Haven't really noticed yet if my front fork feels better. It doesn't feel as harsh as it did, but it feels very firm right now. Fresh oil and still working in those new seals and everything, so it might be a little stiffer at the moment. Thanks! Might get a little softer over a few miles, but these are well broken in already. They're not new forks, so the internal bushings and stuff like that are well broken in, well used. 21,000 miles and change, whatever. So yeah, the only other thing that I had on my list that I forgot about while I had everything apart were my grips. These Pro Grip 714s, or I can't remember what number they are. I'll throw the number up here. They're starting to weather and come apart a little bit. The clutch side of here is wearing down a little bit on top. It's getting pretty ragged right there, so I need to replace those, and to do that, unfortunately, I got to pull these bark busters off and all that nonsense to get the grip off the end. So, anywho, or more specifically, I can cut these off, but to get new ones on, you got to have the end of the bar open there. So, I'll dig into that later. I just need to get to riding this thing. If you're gonna go, go. If you're gonna go, you're gonna have to go. I think the upgraded forks on my CB500F, they're from a 2016 model. They're brand new, not like pulled off of another bike, but it's the ones from the 2016 and up. They're adjustable, and I think they're valved a little bit better than these. It just feels better, different. So at some point in the future, if I keep this bike another 10 years, I will probably get the guts for the newer forks and put them in here, or maybe just do the YSS cartridge emulators or something like that. We'll see. These are just very basic forks on this bike, not adjustable. You know, you can monkey around with your oil viscosity and oil level to change the damping characteristics a little bit, but those are gross adjustments, not fine adjustments. Feels good to be on this bike again. It's a good machine. I have missed it. It has served me well, and I think it will continue serving me well. If I decided to get that NC750X, still haven't made that decision yet. I don't even know if it's still there to make that decision. It might be sold already. But if I were to get the NC750X, it might replace this. I don't know if I would do that. I'd have to live with the 750X for a couple of months and a couple thousand miles at least to make that determination whether it's a better steed than this one, and more specifically I'd want to take it on a couple of long highway trips, because this has got a bigger fuel tank. This is 4.3 or 4.5 gallons, something like that, I can't remember, and the NC is significantly less than that. I think it's 3.5 or 3.7, so it's down almost a gallon on fuel capacity compared to this, and they get roughly the same fuel economy on the highway, you know, mid-60s, low mid-60s, something like that, at moderate speeds, you know. So that means this one's got longer legs on the highway. Got more autonomy before you got to stop and refill it. The other issue with the NC750 is the fuel tank is under the rear seat, under the pillion seat, and if you have a bag on the back seat like I usually do, you know, a roll bag, then that means you got to unstrap that thing in order to get to the fuel tank. That's annoying. I mean, the NC750 makes up for it in that this is the fuel tank, or the trunk up here. The fuel tank isn't there, so this is storage space, and you don't need a tank bag or anything like that. That's nice, but I don't know, you're in and out of your fuel tank probably more than you'd be in and out of a tank bag. At least that's, you know, my experience with long road trips and cross-country trips and stuff like that is, yeah, the tank bag is nice, but you can always shove crap into your jacket pockets or whatever as needed, and the thing that you're in and out of more often is the fuel filler there. So can't quite get past Fat Boy there. Oh, my mirror got whacked and I need to adjust it. There we go. Yep, I love this machine. Great machine. And I think I found my missing T-bolt for this windscreen. I was cleaning stuff off of the kitchen counter, and I saw one sitting in there, and I can't remember if that's the one that I had just taken to the hardware store and tested with, or maybe it was my missing one. So when I get back home, I might have my missing T-bolt for that. But I'll leave these in here for now, because Matt's dad said that they were sending out a refresh kit for me with fresh grommets and, you know, T-bolts and all that. So that's awesome. Yeah, that clutch is engaging right off of the hand grip, which means it might be dragging just a touch. Dial that out one notch. There we go. I've got adjustable levers on this thing, so I can dial it in and out. That it increases my reach, which I don't like, but maybe it'll get it off of the grip. Wave this guy by because I don't feel like running 90. Come on, hit it! Yeah, Yeah, it's feeling good. I don't feel any instability like I was for a while. The kind of wandering tracking bit that I was getting, I'm not sure what that was. I have not inspected those wheel bearings. I asked the shop to give me my old parts, and they're sitting in a box. I just haven't looked at them. They said that they appeared to be okay, but they didn't really dig into them and test them, you know. I did the push-pull test, you know, on the wheel when it was mounted front and rear, and I didn't really feel anything, but with that crunchy driveline sound that I was having, and the fact that I was also having a little bit of a straight line tracking issue, I just figured, okay, it's time to do wheel bearings, it's time to knock it all out. So, I don't know, I might look at those bearings and see if they're crunchy or have any lateral play. Roll up this KAOKO throttle control here. It's like such a pain in the butt to use. Here is still walking. There we go. See, just going over those bumps, this thing let go. KAOKO is nowhere near as good as just a simple little lever Go Cruise. Go Cruise is so much easier to use. So much more practical. And you can roll on the throttle and then let go and it goes right back to where it was set. This one, if you roll on, it stays on. If you roll down, it releases and then falls off and you got to reset it. Ah, annoying. I couldn't read that sign. It said something ahead, but it was all scrambled up. The digits were half lit, half not. It's the other thing about this cruise control, it locks when you don't want it to. Starts getting in the way. Not a fan of that KAOKO, and that thing was expensive. Like $169, $179, plus the little end adapter to fit with these bark busters, another 20 bucks, so not cheap. Oh, that's the other thing I did. I forgot to mention. I was just looking down at my speed, and I know that I'm going more than 30. I kept looking at it going, I know I'm going over 30. I put the 16-tooth front sprocket on this thing. At the same time, I did the chain and sprockets. So it's up a tooth from where it used to be. So that's going to affect my speedometer. I'll need to compare to GPS speed. I can throw a GPS up here. I'll do that on my way back home. So yeah, it should be about what would it be, 4.5–5% change in shaft speed, wheel speed, whatever. So that'll definitely affect my speedometer. 50 indicated is probably 52 actual now, 53. It was dead on. I mean, just absolutely perfect GPS accurate with the 14 tooth, or I'm sorry, 15 tooth on there. But I wanted to try out a +1 and see if that calms the engine a little bit at freeway speeds, see if it affects fuel mileage, all that kind of stuff. Other CB500X owners have mentioned that that is one of the best upgrades that they ever did to theirs, was going up one tooth on the front. So I'll try it out, give it my opinion after a little while. Don't really have any noticeable feel or change in the bike right now. I didn't really keep it in mind to try to have an opinion, so I guess that's good for not having a biased opinion, right? I'm not looking for confirmation bias. I forgot all about it. Bike feels the same as it always did. Okay, so yep, there's that little box that's very expensive. There's very, very expensive stuff in that little box. I don't want that little box to go running around. That would be a bad day. Oh, and I took off my tank bra that I had on here. It was for a Shad, forget the model number, but their soft luggage thing, tank bag. So it had that bra on it forever, and it scuffed my paint where the straps were in a couple of spots. Down here, right there, and definitely here and here. And then again up here at the front edge. So I'm going to try to hit that with a little bit of rubbing compound or something like that, and wet sand it, see if I can kind of buff out that clear coat a little bit and get it pretty again. Or I guess I just get another bra and put it on there, whatever. All right, box is loaded. I'll take it over to the client. They're not too far from here, about 10 miles, something like that. Not sure about traffic, but it should be tolerable. And the only problem with my phone mount being right where it is I have to crane arm around that thing to reach the key. Off we go. I should be able to get done before rush hour, I hope. It's just a drop off and go, so I should be hitting HOV headed back home about 2:15, 2:30 at the latest. So that'll affect my mileage, obviously. Whenever I do my mileage calculations, I'll have to add the percentage in there, just like I do with the Cub. I'm more curious to see how it feels at sustained, 65, 70, and see if it feels more relaxed, as far as the engine. And then, of course, the fuel economy tests will be empirical numbers that I can work off of too. Roll-on still feels good in top gear, so I don't really notice too much of an impact with this 16-tooth sprocket, other than the change in the listed speed, and it's probably lower RPM, for any given road speed, of course. See how it affects the fuel economy. This has got to be it. MCA, there it is. All right, so which side is MCA? Is that side? This side? That side, this side, this side, that side. This side? This side. Yep, there it is. All right. I am a visitor. I'll park in visitor. Okay, then. I'll catch you guys for the ride home. I really don't like this section of 610 that I'm headed toward, because I've had so many close calls there, and that's where the one real nasty rear end accident happened in my Pilot. It was through the 610 I-10 interchange, headed west on I-10, which is exactly the direction I'm going. So people are going too fast. Guy that hit us in the Pilot clipped the left rear corner of us at over 115 miles an hour, and we were going 65, 70 with traffic. So he hit us at plus 40, almost plus 50 miles an hour. Not a lot of room to make that maneuver there, dude. Wow. Oh, and another one. Oh man, that was about a three-way stack up right there. And then the pinball scatter you got to dodge. Yikes. Do it, dude. So I'll get it up to an indicated 70. I don't know if that comes out on the camera. And it says I'm doing 74. Well, that's a big difference. So 4 mile an hour at 70. That's a pretty good difference. So I'll have to keep that in mind. We'll get it to 65 indicated. 65 indicated is 69 actual. So yeah, 4 mile per hour difference. Wow. Crazy. The bike does feel more relaxed engine-wise at this speed. So if I'm running 70, 71, which is pretty comfortable cruising speed for here in Texas, the engine is not as buzzy as it used to be. The resonance that used to hit right around 60 to 65 isn't there. I was just thinking about the computer there. It's definitely going to sway the fuel economy figure as well, because it thinks I'm going slower than I am, so it's going to drop even further off of its normal deviation. It's never been correct, because these bikes, whenever you fill the tank and you can go through your menus, like right when you reset your trip, and it'll tell you how many gallons it thinks you put in. And like earlier today, I put in 3.7 gallons, and it thought I put in 4.3. So it's never been correct as far as the quantity and gauging the real-time or average mile per gallon. It's always been off by about 10%. I read somewhere several years ago that that's due to U.S. gallons versus UK or you know, imperial gallons, whatever. Imperial gallons are bigger, and somehow this thing's all wonky on that. I don't know. It's just a software change. I don't know why they couldn't program it for the market that it's going into, but whatever. I could just switch it over to metric, be done with it, huh? I don't think I've ever done that. I wonder if it does the kilometer per liter thing, or kilometer per 100 kilometer liters. My brain doesn't think in those terms. At least not for statute distances and quantities. I can't wrap my brain around that. I'm too old school. Measurements for like smaller stuff, you know, fine stuff, yeah, I can think in millimeters just fine, but big distances or, you know, liquid volumes, no, I can't do it. The only thing I can remember on the conversion scale is 3.8 liters to a gallon, and that's easy because the old Buick Grand Nationals were a 3.8 liter V6, turbocharged of course, but they called them the 1 gallon motors. 3.8 liters, 1 gallon. Okay, I got that. That's in my head. I get it. 5 liters. It's a 302 Ford. Okay, I got it. That's easy. Easy numbers. 95, shagging lanes. Front brakes feel like they're starting to bed in a little bit. They're still a little stiff. Don't have a lot of feel to them yet. They're not bedded yet. These double H pads are usually really good, really grippy. Got to watch getting super grippy pads like race compound pads a lot of times because they don't perform well when they're not hot, and then when they are hot, they're real grippy, like too much so sometimes for street riding, and you end up with unintentional lockups and stuff like that. And if you don't have a bike with ABS, then that can complicate your life a little bit. It's another reason why I don't put real grippy pads on the rear, because under hard braking you're going to unload your rear tire, and if you got real grippy stuff on the back, they'll tend to lock up your rear wheel, chatter it. If you have ABS, it's no big deal, but non-ABS bikes are more susceptible to that. Yeah, front suspension feels much better. It needed refreshed. Seals were still good, but those dust boots were dying, and that usually takes your seals out fairly quickly with all the grit that gets by. So it thinks my average mile per gallon right now are 49, but I know it's higher than that. Even running 75 on the highway, this thing gets like 57, 58. So the estimator there is probably 20% off right now. I'll know when I run a full tank through this thing. I'm 1 tick down. I just came down 1 tick on the gauge. So that's just about 50 miles into the trip, I think, is where that usually comes down. So I'm still getting the same economy I usually do. I'm still itching to motocamp. I was thinking about it, trying to sneak away through the middle of the week here when camping is good and very peaceful because no one else is out there, but I've got jobs stacked up through the rest of the week, including Saturday, I think, so no camping for me. We're supposed to get some more thunderstorms, or at least significant rain Sunday, or so the forecast says. unknown. You never know until a few hours before it really happens. Ugh, bump. Ugh, bump. I have a Suzuki GSX-R 750 shock for the rear of this and for the rear of my 500F. I bought two of them because that's reputedly one of the best suspension upgrades you can do on these older 500s. The GSX-R 600 and 750 shock is essentially the same. There's a slight difference in the spring rate, but the shock is basically the same. They drop right in with the exception of the underseat tray. You've got to cut an oval section out of the top of the tray because the Suzuki shock has a gas reservoir and an adjuster up on the top of it, and there's no room for that in the Honda layout. So you got to cut out that clearance hole there. Front brakes are real good and firm, though. I like that feel. I haven't had that in a long time. This fluid in there was old, I guess. It was kind of spongy. I do still want to put some braided lines on here. I'll have to call Spiegler and see what they've got. I think they've probably got a fitment for this. Would have been ideal to do it when I had everything apart, but yeah, whatever. Oh, manage. It's not that hard to pull the front line off of it, flush it and bleed it again. If you're ever doing that job on an older bike like this, go ahead and spend the time to get a master cylinder rebuild while you're in there, because you're already pulling it apart, and the rebuild kit's pretty easy to do, and it's 15 bucks or something like that. Anywho, I'm back home. Thanks for tagging along for today's very brief work commute. You gonna howl? You gonna howl? You're too tired. I'll catch y'all later.